Well, the Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng is now reportedly snubbing a meeting invitation by the organisation Africa for Palestine. The NGO says the meeting was aimed at finding common ground with the Chief Justice over his comments in which he said our government should be more even-handed over the Middle East. Africa for Palestine was among the three organisations that complained to the Judicial Conduct Committee about his statements made during a webinar last July. Mogoeng was told by the committee to retract his statements and to apologise for getting involved in political commentary. The Chief Justice is appealing the ruling. Unfortunately, attempts to reach the Chief Justice's office today about their decision not to attend this meeting were unsuccessful. Meanwhile, the leader of the African Christian Democratic Party, the Reverend Kenneth Meshoe, has said that he is supporting the Chief Justice. He joins us now. Father Meshoe, good afternoon to you. Why are you defending the Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and all your listeners. When the Chief Justice is condemned by people for having quoted from scriptures and having said he loves Israel, he loves the Jews, Palestine, and everyone, I personally think that he should be commended for that, because the world is full of people who are full of hatred, who are causing a lot of harm. We need more people who would love everybody, including those who do not agree with them. So I believe that what he has said about also praying for the peace of Jerusalem, it's something that the scriptures teach. It is not a political statement. I think it is a biblical statement, and that is why I support him for that. Because I never heard anybody in politics saying never pray for the peace of Jerusalem, but I see in the Bible it says we must pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
But Father Meshoe, that's not what he's in trouble for. I agree with you. I think it would be very hard to say that you shouldn't ask for peace. But he is surely more in trouble for what appeared to be a critique of our government's foreign policy. That's what he's in trouble for.
Actually not, because he said he does not want to comment on what the government, he knows what the position of the government. So he was stating his personal religious opinion about the importance of praying for the peace of Jerusalem. That is my understanding. I'll go back to his statement and look again at what he said. But from what I understand and what has been highlighted is what he said about praying for the peace of Jerusalem, and also saying he loves Israel, he loves the Jews, he loves Palestinians, and he loves everyone, as all of us should do. We must love everyone rather than condemn people who don't agree with us.
But, I mean, is it really his right as Chief Justice to express a personal view, whether it be based on a religious belief or any other political belief, whatever it may be? I mean, doesn't it, what's the phrase, behove, but isn't it correct that a Chief Justice, someone who holds that office, actually doesn't write letters to the newspaper, doesn't participate in public commentary at all, except through their judgments?
You know, some matters have to be properly defined, all right? We have Judge Dennis Davis, who has been conducting a program on television. He made comments publicly, not necessarily about government, not necessarily about politics, but he does express his opinion, and there's nothing wrong with that. So when he expresses his opinion, his religious opinion, people find fault with that. That's a problem with me. I think if the code of conduct can clearly state that if you are a judge, even though the Constitution says everyone has the right, you must exclude yourself. You are not part of that everyone. That has to be made clear. But for as long as the Constitution of South Africa says everyone has the right to freedom of religion, thought, belief, and so on, then he also has that right to exercise. Okay. Otherwise, it must be clearly stated.
All right. If, for example, just the night before Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs were to have a big match, you know, the Soweto Derby, if the referee of that game were to say that Pirates were better than Chiefs, I mean, should he expect to still referee the game the next day? Surely not. Isn't that the problem?
Well, as a supporter, Chiefs is not doing well now, okay? And but as a supporter of Chiefs, I would say no. I wouldn't want that referee to
But that's exactly the problem. That's exactly the issue. That's why the referee shouldn't say anything about the teams before the game. And isn't that why the Chief Justice perhaps should not have said what he said?
But fortunately, it was not the two teams in front of him. He was asked for his opinion.
I'm sorry, sir, but there is a case, the Masuka case, in front of him about this very issue.
You know, Sir Stephen, there are differences between Israel as a people, as a nation, and the government of Israel. There are people all over the world who love South Africa, but who don't love what the government of South Africa is doing. They don't like the government of South Africa, but they love the people of South Africa. And I think many of our people who complain about the people like ourselves who say we love Israel is they confuse love for the people and love for the government. I don't support the government of Israel. I don't agree with many things that they are doing. So my love for Israel has nothing to do with the government. And I believe, even though I haven't spoken to him about it, but I believe he holds the same opinion, that he does not support the government, but he supports the people as a nation. So nobody must hate a nation. We can have issues with individuals, but to hate the whole nation, I don't think that's correct.
Okay, I don't think anyone has an issue with him saying that everyone must love everyone, particularly in that part of the world. That wasn't the issue. Anyway, we'll come back to it, Father. There are two issues here, right? There's the first statement that he made about the Middle East in that seminar. There was a finding against him. And then there was the second statement in which he said he would never retract his first statement. I think the quote was, if I remember it accurately, 50 million people could protest for 10 years. I would not retract that statement. That's what he said. Now, the point there, and the Judicial Conduct Commission is concerned about that second statement, almost more than the first statement, because it suggests that he does not accept the authority of the bodies that have been set up to regulate the judiciary. In other words, if I read their findings correctly, and I'm sure you and I will both go and read them again after all of this, because it's very complicated, 67 pages.
Yeah.
The point is, they are saying that it would be wrong for the Chief Justice to not be held accountable by the body that is supposed to do that. And by promising never to retract his statement, he was doing that. Do you support him in both complaints? Do you see the question? The first one is about the Middle East, which I know you support him on. But do you support the second complaint too?
You need to help me with the first one, Steve. Let's be clear about the first one. I heard you correct about the second one, but not the first one. What did he say about the
first one we've actually already gone through really in our conversation, you and I, which was about his comments about the Middle East. I understand you, but let me put my question to you like this. One of the complaints against the Chief Justice is that he has refused to accept the authority of the Judicial Conduct Committee, and he did that by saying he would never retract his comment. It's not about whether his comment is right or not, it's that he said he would never retract it. Do you support him on that complaint as well?
Stephen, I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say to you, when you are wrong, you need to be shown exactly where the wrong is. Because when you look at his statements in the context of the Constitution, then you cannot put your finger down on a constitutional clause that he violated. That's the problem, okay? Now, from the Constitution point of view, he is right to disagree with the one who report him or who complain based on something that is not above the Constitution. If we can say, or somebody said he violated this section of the Constitution, I would agree. And I would say, well, Chief Justice, you must apologize. But if he knows that standing on the Constitution, he has not violated anything in the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. Obviously, I'm not thinking on his behalf. We did not discuss this matter. I'm just thinking, if I was in his shoes, I can say, if I do not make a statement that violates the Constitution, I will not retract. Show me my wrong in the Constitution. Which constitutional clause did I violate? And obviously, if you cannot do that, then you don't give me the reason to apologize.
But that's, no, sir, that's not how it works. The Constitution gives, the Constitution demands, and there is one, it's called the Judicial Service Commission, right? Underneath that, you have the Judicial Conduct Tribunal and the Judicial Conduct Committee. Right? Judges have to be held accountable. In other words, a judge can't just go and do whatever they want to do because they're a judge. In the same way that a referee can't go out and say that I think one team is better than the other and then go and referee a football match between those two teams. So if a referee were to do that, they would be held accountable. Their body would suspend them, remove them, red card them, whatever it is. In this case, it's a referee saying, I believe that this team is better than the other, and I demand the right to go and referee their game tomorrow anyway. That's not me speaking, by the way. I'm putting into a metaphor, if you like, what the Judicial Conduct Committee said. So let me get back to this, because I think this is a fundamental question for you. You support him on his comments about the Middle East. I accept that. I do have a problem with that, but that's not the issue here. The question I'm asking you is, do you support his right to say in advance that no matter what happens, I will not retract my comment? Because if you do, it would seem to me you're saying the Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa is allowed to not be held accountable.
You know, if we look at all his rulings, nobody will ever say he was wrong in these matters in his rulings. But now when he speaks in his personal capacity, voicing his religious convictions, that's a different matter altogether. Because when you say I am wrong for quoting the Bible, and I must accept the fact that you say I am wrong, I cannot accept that I'm wrong when I know that biblically I am correct and constitutionally I'm also correct. And I think that's the position where he is, because that's how I would reason it myself.
But he said that before he had even heard a case against him. That's the point. I mean, it could be, I mean, I might have a very, very firm belief that the sky is green. But it would be wrong for me as a Chief Justice to hold that view if evidence against me could still be brought. And he didn't. He said that before the evidence against him was brought. So how did he know?
But the verdict was also passed that he must apologize. Yes. He said he will not apologize because he was already told you are wrong. That's the issue. He was already told you are wrong, you must retract. And he said, how can I retract?
No, but he said, I'm sorry, Mr. Meshoe, I'm sorry, Father Meshoe, but your timeline is wrong. He made that promise to not retract before the complaint was even laid against him. That's the point. The entire point is that.
I am not sure. Let's confirm, Steve. You and I, we know each other. We can come back tomorrow, but let's confirm, sure. And I'll have all the documents in front of me. I will read and you'll read. Let's do that. I think that would be fair.
Reverend Kenneth Meshoe, we'll leave it there for the moment. I'll leave it up to the production team to decide if we continue with the engagement. Do appreciate the time, though. Thank you very much indeed. Right.